the European leaders, they issued a joint statement. We clearly understand that Ukraine must have reliable security guarantees to effectively defend its sovereign and territorial integrity. We welcome Trump's statement that the United States is ready to provide security guarantees. A coalition of willing parties is ready to play an active role. No restrictions should be imposed on the Ukrainian armed forces or its compositions with a third country. Russia cannot have a veto over Ukraine's path to EU and NATO. When I saw that last line there, I'm like, you cannot be serious. I told you they were going to do whatever they could to undercut it. I was thinking more covert or subversive kind of activities, not direct statements. That is Russia's core issue. When they say that we want to end this war, but our core issues have to be, the root causes of the war have to be addressed, that is like number one, NATO and Ukraine. The second one was support of the Russian people inside of Ukraine. Number one is NATO. And now here in their comments after Trump's meeting, they say, we welcome Trump's comment on security guarantees. I mean, Trump, at least what he said in his Truth Social, what he said on Sean Hannity, what he said on the platform, he didn't say a word about security guarantees for Ukraine. Putin himself said that he's looking for some kind of path to where everybody can have security. So if that's what they're interpreting as Trump giving security guarantees, I guess it's technically could be correct, but it's in a very, very different way than saying like an Article 5-ish kind of thing that many in the West want, like that, the U.S. would be on their side. I'll tell you categorically, Trump will never do that. And even the elite in the United States, there's so many other people that would say, oh, hell no, under no circumstances ever is the United States going to get into a war against nuclear armed Russia on behalf of a corrupt Ukrainian regime. And look, you can like Ukraine, you can feel that they're the aggrieved victim here. You can't maintain the argument that they're not extremely corrupt. That's a fact. It's chronicled all over the place. It's self-evident, but it's also chronicled. I'm not going to sacrifice one American. I'm not going to sacrifice one American city, of course, for a regime like that that refuses. Don't miss this. They could have prevented this war from starting. They could have implemented the Minsk agreements, and there would have been no casus belli for Russia to ever do anything. They could have had a prevented with another more oppressive offer from Russia in December of 2021 that could also have prevented war. They didn't want that one. Then the Istanbul 2022, opportunity in 2023, another one in June 2024, and now this one. Every opportunity they have rejected. There is no way on God's earth that any president should ever even contemplate going to war on behalf of a nation that refuses peace and fight a war that can't be won anyway. I mean, that would be suicidal. And I don't think President Trump in any way, shape, or form is willing to go down that path. And we certainly affirm that and vote that out. So when the Europeans said that they wanted to be on Team Trump and they want to get this done, they're just not being honest. And I don't know if they think that they're being clever, by saying we affirm President Trump or whatever, but when all of your conditions there are virtually guaranteed, not virtually, are guaranteed to be rejected by the Russian side, you prevent any possibility of peace, which is what they want. Understand this. I just went through this long lineage of ways that the European side has rejected every opportunity for diplomatic off-ramp, and they're now setting the stage to doing it again. So then we're going to have the question, where is Trump going to want to go with this? Where is he willing to go with this? Because if the Europeans continued on the path that they're on, then Trump is going to have a pretty hard decision and choice coming up. If Zelensky and or Europe, and really it's primarily Zelensky, but if he follows behind Europe because they're telling him what he wants to hear, if he can't get those two parties on board and he can't deliver to Vladimir Putin, then the only option left to Vladimir Putin is we'll simply continue fighting on the ground until we have conquered by force of arms what we need for our national security by our own definition without consideration from anybody else or input from anybody else. Then the killing will continue. The territorial losses will continue. And the chances that Volodymyr Zelensky remains in power at the end of this decrease dramatically. That's the reality, folks. That's where we really are. So let's cut through the BS. Let's cut through the lofty rhetoric that a lot of people want to use on the Western side. That's the truth of it. And the longer they go without accepting that, the longer they're going to extend the misery and the suffering of the Ukrainian people. And I just don't. I'm sorry, but I'm just sick and tired of hearing all this. How they care about European security, how they care about the Ukrainian people. They don't care about the Ukrainian people, and they demonstrate with their actions for years, and they're doing it again right now. I hope that President Trump just flat calls them out. I would love to see him say some version of what I'm saying right now, because certainly there are people on his staff that know this. I'm certain of it. He should just call them out and say, y'all, either after Monday, if Zelensky doesn't play ball, he should say, listen, I've done everything in my power to end the death and destruction in your country, and you reject everything. And now you're trying to gum this up. You do this, you're on your own. We're out. Lock, stock, and barrel. No bullets, no bombs, no tanks, no planes, nothing. No intelligence support, no training. We're out. You want to fight a war that you can't win and cause death and destruction and the possibility of the expansion of the war? That's on you. It's not on me. My hands are clean. I've done everything in my power to bring sanity into this. I would love to see the president say something like that, because that is an accurate reflection of what's going on here. And listen, I'm not even talking about the Russian side so much as I'm certainly not defending anything they did. As you've seen a show that I did before, there were alternatives short of war that Russia could have used in February 2022. They chose not to. That's People can debate about that. Some friends of our show disagree with that. They think that they were forced to. Not my question, not my issue. I'm not a Russian, so that's not up for them to discuss. What I do care about, though, is European security, American security, and Ukrainian people. That's what I care about. And what the European leadership and what the Ukrainian leadership are doing thwarts that. They are the primary architect. It's not Russia. Russia is doing what you can predict any country is going to do when you're going to war against them. But when you have the wherewithal, the capacity to end this war and end the suffering, and then set up a potential for long-term trying to regather the potential for everybody to live in peace, and you refuse that, then you are the primary impediment to peace. I know that makes a lot of people mad. Don't care. That's what the facts say. And if you don't like it, change the facts. Change your actions so that the facts can reflect something that can bring peace. Because what you're doing now won't. It can't. What you're doing right now and telling yourself it's the moral position, all you're doing is increasing death and destruction on the people that you say you defend, and you're increasing the risk that one of these days it expands into a war with us. So get off your moral high horse, because the evidence says that you're on the wrong track, and that your words and your lofty rhetoric aren't lining up. That's the truth of it, and that's one of the things I wanted to point out here. One of the last things I want to put on here is that, let's see, the Ukraine people, and this is from the Telegram channel, Legitimy. Some of you may know it. That's actually Medvedev, Gary. It's the last one. I'm skipping that one. That one right here. This is how some of the people in Ukraine. This is something that this source here, Legitimy on Telegram from Ukraine, has been right on so many things, and they had insider information. They've got people inside the Ukraine administration, and they've also are very much in touch with what's going on the ground. What they're saying today is that phone talks took place between Trump and Europeans and Zelensky. Trump essentially issued a conditional ultimatum, which went like this: either we move towards peace, where Zelensky will have to concede territory, or I withdraw from the war, and European will have to fight its Kiev on its own. This will lead to a total defeat of Ukraine in the long run. After the phone call, Zelensky is flying to Washington on August 18th. They will discuss a peace treaty there. So they're worried. You see, that's actually what I said Trump ought to do, and that's what the Ukrainians are fear will happen. Of course, that is going to mean that they're going to more of them are going to die, which is one of the things that anguishes so many of them. They certainly understand that, and I'm not for any more Ukrainians dying. But the only way to end the insanity is for the United States to withdraw. Because if Trump, this is why I told you at the beginning, he's got a big risk here. If he does that, if he does what I suggested there and walks away, of course he's going to come under withering fire and condemnation and attacks and all this from the European elite, from the American elite, the Uniparty and all that. And lots of people will be against him. But then and the war will go into probably a much more rapid terminal phase. Russia will almost certainly win in a much more quick way, et cetera. And then a lot of people will permanently hate Trump. I'm talking about people that don't right now. Not his already enemies. That's already baked in. because they'll say, yes, he gave up on them. And that's what he'll have to deal with that. You can't get around that. But the war will come to an end and the killing will stop, because a faster resolution means that there are fewer people that are going to die later. That's what you need to understand here. And that's where I hope Trump goes, because the alternative, the other half of that risk, is that Trump doesn't do that and says, okay, well, either goes back to what he said during that 50-day threat and says, fine, I'm going to put sanctions on Russia. Will that make y'all happy? Fine, I'll go ahead and do that. We'll keep giving more weapons. We'll put in some kind of new round of funding, whatever. It's going to be very small because we just don't have it. It doesn't matter who pays for it. We don't have it. Our defense industrial capacity doesn't have the ability to produce it at scale necessary. So all that will do will drag the war out longer before the failure comes, before the total destruction comes. So almost certainly a lot more Ukrainian territory will go to the other side. That's what Trump is. His horrible dilemma is either be hated and the war come to a quicker end because Russia wins, and then we have all the fallout that John Mearsheimer's talked about on our show a bunch of times, and that's going to increase the risk of escalation. It's going to put us on a firm footing into a new Cold War, which, God forbid, it could ever turn into a hot war. Or he has to just play along with the elite side here and just let there be a longer, slower, deeper death for the Ukraine side. That's where we're at. So the best chance Ukraine has is if Trump is somehow able to coerce them, and through shame or whatever other kind of ability he has, to get Zelensky and Europe to agree to end the war on anything close to the terms that Russia will accept, which we go back to June 14th, 2024. It's all there. It hasn't changed since that time. A lot of people will hate it, but then the death and destruction will stop and the recovery period will begin. Relations between the two superpowers will be improved, and the chance for other kind of war goes down. That is the best that all of us can hope for, no matter what these elite think and say. That's what you need to understand. That's where we are. And before I let you go, there is actually one more thing, because there's one comment that actually Putin in English made last night that I think is worthy of an observation here. And in the event that things go in the positive direction where the war could come to an end, it could be that the next meeting between Trump and Putin might not be on a neutral side or on American soil, but on Russian territory.
Again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's going to take heat no matter what he does. There's nothing that Trump can do. He's not going to take heat from somewhere, and that would be historic. And I think that if he goes to Moscow, I think personally, I think it should be after a deal is done, not before, because then it will just add weight to the accusations that, oh, you're a stooge of Putin, and he brought you onto his territory and compelled you to something, whatever. I think that it would be useful, especially to cement an improving of relations, if he goes to Moscow after a deal is cut. So we'll see what the situation. You could obviously tell that did catch him by surprise. Then he had been talking about in the Russian side about having that happen at some point. Don't know if they told Witkoff and Witkoff didn't convey it, or if Trump forgot. I don't know, but he seemed genuinely surprised and caught off balance by that. But he said that's something that would be interesting. I think for the name of global security and peace and improving relations between the two, I think that at some point that would be a good thing. And then he could reciprocate by whatever, some other time, having him back in the United States. So we'll have to, and maybe in Washington, D.C. specifically. But if you care about peace and security, that would be a good thing. That's what we think. And we hope that sanity, wisdom, and peace prevails. And that could be a good step forward. Thank you very much, folks. And we'll see you on the next episode of Daniel Davis.